Well, how are you doing, my students? I just feel like doing this recording to assist you in what we discussed during the last meeting we had on Zoom. And this one is just for you to get some issues clarified on what we discussed that day. Let me say that we are teaching you principles of pharmacology. Not that we want to teach you drugs. Many of you have moved with many drugs in your clinical settings all the while, but these are the classes we are organizing for you to let you have the in-depth knowledge of principle of pharmacology. Last time we discussed on issue of drug interaction, and at that time I was trying to let you know that when we discussed principle of drug action, I told you that the third principle is that drug action depends on interaction with the body. And I remember I told you that it can interact by chemically altering the body fluid, altering the cell membrane, or acting through a specific receptor. That is how drug interaction actually works. In the last two meetings we had, I told you of how to name how the drugs are named. I said they are named basically on two grounds. The ground of the chemical component of that drug, which is called generic name. So when you say generic, it means the chemical component of that drugs. So that is why you see something like paracetamol is generic. Metronidazole is generic. Then something like ampicillin is generic. So all these are chemical components of the drug. But if any company now makes any of these drugs and give it its own name, it becomes what we call brand name. So brand name is otherwise known as proprietary name, proprietor. That is the name given to this drug by a company that makes them. If you see something like Panadol, it is the M&B name of paracetamol. You can see something like Flagyl, M&B names of metronidazole. So all these are methods of naming drugs, like I told you in the last Zoom meeting. I now told you that if you are talking of drug interaction has to do with more than just drug, because it is not only drug that affect the effect of other drug. It can be drug to drug. It can be drug to food. And can be drug to your condition. Condition, I mean your health status. So effect of drugs is also felt on the condition of your health as human being. So now, I now said that day that when you talk of drug interaction, when you take two drugs together, they interact with each other either in positive way or negative way. So dosage of medication. So factors that influence dosage of drugs. So these factors are numerous. They are numerous, but I will just tell you some of them, and we may have to do some calculation on this one. The first factor we can think about is age. All of us know that age plays a role in dosage of drugs. You cannot give a small child the dosage of drugs you give to adults. So, but let me say here that at the extreme of age, at the extremes of age, dosage reduced. Dosage is reduced. What I mean by this is the extreme of age, like in growing child, toddler, or infant, because their physiology is not well developed, their organs are not well developed, they are poorly developed, or they are developing. So they cannot accommodate the effect of drugs as adults would do. At the same time, at the age of old age, these organs have gone through what they call generative changes in adulthood, in old age, that will not allow them to work as perfect as you have in young adult and adult stage. So have in consideration that age plays important role in determining dosage of drugs. Now, you may wish to ask, if you are giving a child an adult paracetamol, how you would use the age to determine what they take. Let me say that the cut-off point between childhood and adulthood in pharmacology is placed as 12. But in some countries, they can tell you up to 18. But 12 is the acceptable standard, that anybody above 12 is considered an adult in pharmacology and must well take the dosage of an adult, except in some established conditions that may not allow that to happen. The first thing I would say is, if a child below 12 years of age is taking any medication that adults will take, it requires you to use age at times in calculating how much it takes. That is what we call young rules. Young rule. Young rule is used to calculate how the dosage of drug to be taken by a child. If a child of 8 is to take paracetamol, you should know the adult dosage of paracetamol as 1000 milligrams. A child of 8 will now do calculation and say age of the child. That is what the young rule states. Age of the child all over age of the child plus 12 multiplied by adult dose. Now, if that child is 8 years, you say 8 all over age of the child, 8 plus 12 multiplied by 1000 milligrams of paracetamol. So it will now be 8 all over 20 multiplied by 1000. Then 20 here, 1 here, 50. 8 times 50 will be 400 milligrams. It means a child of 8 years will take 400 milligrams of paracetamol. If the child is not up to that level, maybe it is 4 years or so, you know how much it will take. That is why you have the syrup for children, and they will say 125 milligrams in 5 ml. They use this young rule to calculate how much that child will take. That is what they call young rule. You need to put that into consideration when you are determining the. So drug interaction could come in two forms. It could be positive or it could be negative. Now, positive is what they call synergistic reaction or interaction. Synergistic interaction. Synergistic means they work together. So it means if the interaction between drugs is positive, the two drugs that we take together will work together. They work together to produce maximum effect that your body needs. That is what we call synergistic reaction. I will give an example of such. If in the olden days when we were using Tek and Stret for treatment of infection, for people who have been nursing in the past 25, 30 years, you know what I'm talking about. In those days, they would say, give 2 ml of Ceclopen, 3 ml of Streptomycin for 5 days. That is very good treatment for infection that time. They call it bullets that time. So the big bullets, the big guns are there that time. They work together. Ceclopen, which is what they call procaine penicillin, and Streptomycin. So when you take them together, they both activate the action of each other, and they want to produce maximum effect. That one is what we call synergistic interaction. Today, you can take antibiotics. For example, now if anybody has inflammation, you can take analgesic and you take anti-inflammatory agents. They both work together to relieve pain for that patient and to ensure that the inflammation is warded off. So that is what they call synergistic reaction. But if you talk of negative reaction, there are 3 types of negative reaction. That they call antagonistic. Antagonistic, you have inhibitory, and then you have what we call toxicity. When you talk of antagonistic, it means when you take 2 drugs, let's say you take drug A and B together. If they have antagonistic, which is negative, A and B will counter effect of each other. None of them will work for you. That means it is antagonistic. They don't go together. When they are taken together, none of them will work. It's just waste of time, but it can still cause you problem because they will accumulate in your body and cause you toxic reaction. We get to that. So that's what they call antagonistic. So I will draw it like this so that you can understand what I'm saying. You take drug A plus B. So you will say none works. None works. None of them will work. When you talk of inhibitory negative interaction, when you take A and B, A will work. It stops B from working. Are you with me? A will work, it stops B from working. So the activity of that A that will stop B from working is what we call inhibitory. It inhibits the action of B from working. That is what that means. Then the third one is toxicity. It is what happens in inhibitory that happens in toxicity, but the difference is that the B that does not work in toxicity, A will potentiate its effect so that it accumulates in the bloodstream to cause toxic reaction. You get me? The drug B that does not work in the inhibitory will going to accumulate in the bloodstream and will end up in causing toxic reaction. That's what they call toxicity. So if you are asked to discuss on how drug interacts with each other, it is in 2 broad ways. Either positive, which is synergistic, which means both of them will enhance the action of one another to work. Whereas in the negative, it will be antagonistic when none of them work. It may be inhibitory when one works and stop other from working. It is toxic when one works, stop other from working, one that is stopped accumulating the bloodstream to cause toxic reaction. That is what I mean by that. So I know that day you could not have time to ask questions because of the network. But then I need to get this over this one so that you can understand what I'm talking about. Now, what reason why I'm making this video is because there are some instances we have to do some little bit of calculation that cannot be done on Zoom meeting. So that is why I just said, let me have this 5 minutes video and at least it can benefit you a bit. Now, I want to just send this warning to you. Do not question variation in prescription without having knowledge. Doctor that we consider is weight. The cutoff point for every adult weight is 70 kg or 150 pounds. In US, pounds is mostly used. They don't use kg. But be as it may, for those who are interested in writing English or thereabout, you use pounds in US. If they give you question in kg, change it to pounds when you are working on the exam in US. And have it in mind that 2.2 pounds is equal to 1 kg. So you need to make sure you conclude on this and get it right. That 2.2 pounds is 1 kg. So now, if you are using weight to determine what individual will take, some drugs companies are so talented that they will tell you take 5 milligrams per kg. They have helped you a lot. So if they say you take a drug 5 milligrams per kg, it means if you are taking that drug and you are 20 kg, it means you will take 5 times 20, you will take 100 milligrams. That is very straightforward. Now, if it is what you want to do, the working is very clear. It is what they call Clark rule. Clark rule. So Clark rule came up with a workings on this and say weight of the child all over adult weight multiplied by adult dose. Adult dose. Now, if that child weigh 30 kg, or let's say he weigh 35 kg, we just say 35 kg over 70, because 70 is the baseline for adult weight. You can weigh more, you can weigh less, but every adult weigh 70 kg on a neutral ground, on a normal level. Then multiply by, if it is paracetamol again, 1000. It means you say 1, 2. So it means that child will take 500 milligrams of paracetamol. That is what Clark rule says. Weight of the child of our adult weight times adult dose. You can say age of the child also in kg or in pound, depending on what you are given. But mind you, if you are doing that, you make sure that instead of you saying 70 here, you say over 150 if it is in pounds. So the other that weight at 5 kg may be 75 pounds. So do the same thing like you do in the area of